You wash your body every single day. You scrub your skin. You brush your teeth. You sanitize your hands. But let me ask you a question that might make you uncomfortable. When was the last time you took a shower on the inside? I'm not talking about morals or ethics. I'm talking about the grime that accumulates on your soul, the residue of stress, the sticky tar of anxiety, the mental pollution that no amount of soap can wash away. We live in an age of hygiene, yet we are walking around with minds that are cluttered, stained, and suffocating. We organize our homes, we declutter our Marie Kondo-style closets, but our inner world? It's a hoarding situation. It is a restless sea, tossed by the constant, relentless waves of notifications, deadlines, and the crushing pressure to be more. But here is the paradox. The secret to cleaning this mess, to achieving a state of chitta shuddhi, or purification of the mind, isn't some new age biohack. It is a piece of technology that is thousands of years old. And today, we are going to reverse engineer it. We are going to decode the wisdom of two of the most powerful archetypes in human history, Krishna and Shiva. These aren't just religious figures. They are psychological blueprints. Krishna, the master of navigating the chaos of the world with a smile. And Shiva, the primal ascetic, the Lord of silence who burns the ego to ash. Together, they provide a complete roadmap, a two-step verification process for your soul. We are going to translate their ancient Sanskrit verses into a modern operating manual for your brain. This isn't just about feeling good. It is about achieving a state of high-fidelity consciousness. So, how do we actually do this? How do we scrub the mind? The first step requires us to look at the way we work. We live in an output-based economy. We are obsessed with the fruit, the promotion, the likes, the quarterly bonus, the yes from the person we're texting. Our entire self-worth is leveraged on the future result of our actions, and that leverage creates a massive amount of toxic debt in the form of anxiety. This is where Krishna steps in. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is really just a metaphor for the war inside your head, he drops a line that completely rewires the concept of productivity. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 47, he says, "You have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions." Read that again. You have a right to the work, not the result. Most people hear this and think it means don't care. They think it means being passive. But that is the exact opposite of what Krishna is saying. He is telling you to detach from the outcome so you can be obsessed with the process. Let's look at a modern case study. Imagine Anika. She's a graphic designer, and she's sitting in front of her computer at 11 p.m. Her shoulders are tight, her breathing is shallow. She is working on a pitch deck for a massive client, but she isn't actually working. She is worrying. Her mind is projecting into the future. What if they hate the font? What if I don't get the senior designer title? What if I fail? The fruit, the approval, the promotion has hijacked her brain. The anxiety of the result is actually making her work worse. It's paralyzing her creativity. Her mind is impure because it is contaminated by fear. Now, imagine Anika flips the switch. She applies Krishna's protocol. She says, I cannot control the client. I cannot control the promotion. Those are variables outside my data set. The only thing I own is the next hour of design work. Suddenly, the heavy weight on her chest vanishes. She enters a flow state. She isn't working for a future reward. She is working because the work itself is the reward. The anxiety evaporates. The design becomes sharper, bolder, more authentic. This is the first pillar of purity. Karma yoga. You purify the action by removing the ego's desperate need for validation. You don't give up on the world. You give up the mental handcuffs that bind you to it. But action is only half the equation. Krishna teaches us how to move, but Shiva teaches us how to stop. And in the modern world, stopping is the hardest thing you will ever do. We are addicted to noise. We are terrified of silence. Enter Shiva, the Adi Yogi, the first yogi. Picture him sitting on Mount Kailash. He is absolute stillness. He is the void. He represents the state of consciousness that exists before a thought arises. Our minds are like a glass of muddy water. We spend our days shaking the glass, thinking, analyzing, scrolling, stressing. We try to fix our minds by thinking more, which is like trying to clear the water by stirring it with a spoon. Shiva's technology is different. It is the technology of settling. He teaches that you cannot force the mind to be pure. You cannot fight the mud. You have to let it settle. Let's look at Rohan. He's a university student, and his brain is a browser with 50 tabs open. He's studying for finals, but his attention is fractured. Discord notifications, Instagram reels, the fear of failing, it's all noise. He feels muddy. He decides to try the Shiva method. He sits down. No phone, no music, no books, just silence. At first, it's torture. His brain screams. It throws up to-do lists and embarrassing memories from 3 years ago. The mud is swirling. But he doesn't fight it. He imagines he is sitting on the bank of a river, watching the debris float by. He doesn't jump in the water to catch the leaves. He just watches. 5 minutes pass, then 10. Slowly, the physics of the mind take over. Without the agitation of his active attention, the sediment begins to drop to the bottom. The water clears. He finds a pocket of silence between two thoughts. In that silence, he discovers a version of himself that isn't anxious, isn't a student, isn't a failure or a success. He finds the witness. This is the purity of being. It's not about emptying the mind. It's about realizing you are the container, not the content. So we have purity in action and purity in stillness. But what about the way we see other people? This is where things get tricky, because our perception is usually the filthiest part of us. We are judgmental machines. We scan people and instantly categorize them. Rich, poor, attractive, ugly, useful, useless, friend, enemy. This filtering process is a stain on our consciousness. Krishna returns with a radical solution. Jnana Yoga, the yoga of wisdom. In the Gita, he drops a bombshell. He says the wise person sees with equal vision. They look at a learned scholar, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater, and they see the exact same thing. Now, Krishna isn't saying you should treat a dog like a professor. He's saying you need to have X-ray vision. You need to see past the casing, past the costume, past the social status, and spot the electricity that runs the machine. The divine spark. Think about Priya. She's at home, and she is seething with irritation. Her dad left the newspapers scattered on the floor again. Her sister is laughing too loud on the phone. Her mom is nagging her. Every interaction is a microaggression. Her mind is impure because it is clogged with judgment. She is seeing annoying dad and loud sister. Then she applies the equal vision filter. She stops. She looks at her father, really looks at him. She looks past the messy newspapers and sees a man who has worked for 40 years to feed her. She sees the life force in him that is slowly aging. She looks at her sister and sees the joy exploding out of her, the same joy that Priya herself wants to feel. The irritation dissolves. It is replaced by a profound, quiet connection. She hasn't changed her family. She has cleaned her lens. This is the purity of perception. It cleanses the toxicity of judgment and replaces it with the clarity of connection. But there is one final dangerous step, and for this, we must go back to Shiva. Because sometimes life isn't just annoying or stressful. Sometimes it is poisonous. We all have halahala, the poison churning inside us. Rage, jealousy, deep, dark grief, lust. The civilized approach is to suppress it, to push it down into the basement of our subconscious, or we vomit it out on others. Shiva offers a third option, Tantra, the alchemy of transformation. Think of the legend of Nilkanth. When the cosmos churned out a deadly poison that threatened to destroy existence, Shiva didn't run away. He didn't ignore it. He drank it, but he didn't swallow it. He held it in his throat, neutralizing it, turning his neck blue. This is a metaphor for emotional processing. Purity isn't the absence of negativity. It is the ability to metabolize negativity. Look at Vikram. He is consumed by anger at the injustice in the world. He doom scrolls for hours, getting angrier and angrier. He gets into fights in comment sections. His anger is a poison that is eating his own stomach lining. He is toxic to himself. Then he adopts the Nilkanth strategy. He decides to hold the poison. He feels the rage. He doesn't deny it. He says, "I am furious." But instead of lashing out, he holds that energy in the fire of his awareness. He asks, "How can I use this fuel?" He takes that raw nuclear heat of anger and channels it into a laser beam of focus. He stops arguing online and starts organizing a community cleanup. He writes a brilliant, well-researched article. He transforms the destructiveness of rage into the constructiveness of justice. He has turned poison into medicine. This is the ultimate purity, the power to touch the darkness and turn it into light. So, here is the synthesis. Krishna and Shiva are not contradictory. They are two wings of the same bird. Shiva teaches us to find the stillness within, to let the mud settle, to hold the poison without flinching. That is the foundation. Then, Krishna teaches us to take that stillness and carry it into the marketplace, to work without anxiety, to see the divine in every face. Shiva is the mountain, Krishna is the river flowing from it. You need both. You need the cave and the battlefield. True purity isn't about running away to a monastery. It is about being in the center of the noise, in the middle of the stress, with a deadline looming, and yet remaining completely untouched, like a lotus leaf in water submerged, but never wet. This week, I want you to run an experiment. Pick one of these protocols. Maybe it's the fruitless work of Krishna. Maybe it's the mud-settling silence of Shiva. Try it, just once, and see if you can feel that layer of grime start to peel away. If this deep dive sparked something in you, hit that like button. It helps us signal to the algorithm that people want substance, not just noise. Subscribe to join us as we continue to decode the architecture of the soul. And I want to know from you, in the comments below, tell me, is your struggle more with the anxiety of action or the inability to sit still? Let's talk about it.